Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio.
This is Home Show Radio live on Facebook and YouTube. Your questions, Tom's answers. Now here's Tom Tynan and Charlie Mosier.
Well, it's that time again. It's Thursday. It's about 4 o'clock, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube. And this is Home Show Radio. I'm Tom Tynan, and my job is to answer your questions. I've been in the building business all my life. I was born with a hammer in my hand or something. I know I had something in my hand.
Are you John Henry now? Are you a pile driving man?
Yes. That's Charlie Mosier. He works with me. He keeps this thing rolling, and I answer the questions. On Saturday, from 9 to noon. On Sunday, 8 to 11 on Sports Radio 610 here in Houston, Texas. But I know we go farther than Houston, don't we, Charlie, with this?
You can listen to Tom anytime your soul desires. Anytime you have a hankering for help from Tom, just visit HomeShowRadio.com and click on that listen button, and it'll play the most recent shows. And when he's on, which is, like he says, from 9 till noon Central Time on Saturday and 8 to 11 on Sunday for now. I say for now because the Texans are threatening to engage in football. And when that happens, they'll kick us around on Sundays. But you can do it by clicking that listen button anytime you want. And, of course, the podcasts are there and all that. We're here to help you. Here to help you make sense of your house, save money, and do projects and get things done and not get taken advantage of. That's a big thing. We want to make sure that the people come to your door treating you right. That's why we have our Home Show Pros. And we're going to be joined today by one of our Home Show Pros, Will Burns from Right Touch Electrical will be with us here this morning, helping us with your questions and answers as we continue. So let's get right to it. Yes.
Charlie?
Yes?
You said this morning. That was in the past. Now it's this afternoon.
Well, no, right? somebody could be watching in Australia.
Okay, this morning. It's this morning somewhere. Like
it's the World Wide Web.
Yeah, okay.
It's anywhere on Earth, but it's not like the old I Love Lucy shows that are going off into space. Ours are confined here to the globe.
Oh. Yeah. I'd rather go off into space.
Which raises an interesting point, okay? If you want to participate in the program, you're welcome to do that by entering your questions in the comments section right below there, and they'll come up on the box, and we'll put them up here on the screen and share them with you. If you just want to say hi, that'd be good too. Check in with us and let us know you're out there. Appreciate you being with us. So let's get to the first question, though. These came from our Ask Tom section at HomeShowRadio.com. First question, Tom, comes to us all the way from the far-off throes of Glenville, North Carolina. And that's where Russell is. He says, I have a DeWalt battery charger, which charges 7.2 to 18-volt batteries, and I've recently purchased 2 new lithium batteries to replace my old DeWalt batteries. Can I use my DeWalt charger with these new batteries, Tom?
No, the lithium batteries take a different charger, and you can't just plug it in your old tool. You have to have an adapter, which they've made to make this work. And maybe this gentleman had one, Charlie, just didn't put it in his question, that the adapter is there. And it could have come with it because they sell the whole kit together. So you can use your old tool with the new batteries, which are much lighter weight. I love it. The DeWalt company has come up with some great stuff. But the charger is definitely going to be different. Even the connection, the old one you dropped in, the new one you have to slide in a slot. And so it's a little bit different. So get the charger, but the batteries are so much lighter. It's going to, and they last longer. They charge quicker. There's just a real advantage to the new battery-powered tools that DeWalt has come out with.
Yeah, those lithium batteries are smart. I mean, the ones that I use lithium batteries in my Nikon. And, between my D850, which is a DSLR, and my Z6 and Z7, which are mirrorless, the battery looks the same, but it'll only work in one camera or the other. They'll use the same charger, but so I've had to write not Z because I've gotten out in the field with a lithium battery that was of no use to me.
And let's tell everybody you're talking about cameras.
Yes, Nikon cameras.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you had a lot of D's, acronyms in there, so I just want to make sure we're talking about cameras.
Well, the Nikon aficionados in the audience going, ooh, one of us. And, of course, the Canon people are going, what a loser. All right.
Okay, fine.
Next question comes from Robert in Queens. He says, I have fiberglass ductwork on both the supply and return sides of my HVAC system. How can I install a UV light in ductwork then, Tom?
Well, every UV light I've ever seen, it goes in and is an individual light bulb. It just, as you drill a hole or you cut a hole, slide it in, and it has a hardware package that just kind of binds to the wall, whether it's a metal plenum, whether it's in a transition duct, which is right before your evaporator coil. And you're talking about duct board, which is a little more flimsy, but it can still be put in if it's not too heavy. So I don't see a big problem with it. As far as when you buy it, it should go in just like it would in a metal plenum or a transition.
What about the idea of a UV light in and of itself, Tom?
UV lights work on a surface. If you're wanting to clean a surface, and I can relate to things like in hospitals, they use them to disinfect instruments that they use for different reasons. In a barber shop, they put the razors and stuff under a UV light to kill the bacteria and whatnot that gets on it from other people. So if it shines on a surface long enough, it'll work. If you're wanting it to clean the air as it comes through, it does absolutely zero for that. And so I don't want people to think that they're cleaning the air, they're killing the viruses, they're not going to get COVID, they're not going to get influenza. It doesn't work that way. And I'm getting a lot more of these questions, Charlie, right now, because I think people have had in the back of their head that they want to kill any kind of virus or, influenza or any of this stuff through that. And it's not going to work. That is not what it is for. It's for keeping an evaporator coil surface clean is what they actually are used for.
Wait a minute. Hang on a minute. Don't they usually have those UV lights in like barber shops and salons?
Well, that's what I said. In the barber shop, they put it underneath the surface to kill the bacteria.
Stay with me a minute.
Okay.
I know why Nancy Pelosi went to that salon. Because they thought it would kill the COVID. I think that's why.
I don't want my house burned down. I'm not going home. Nancy's clean. She's fine with me. That's fine. Whatever. Right. Don't burn my house down.
It's possible. Yeah, right. And we'll be putting Tom's address up on our Facebook page shortly. Yes. All right. All right. Hey, I got a question that came in from one of our listeners. Jack is watching with us. Jack, we appreciate you being here. Let me put this up for you here, Tom. He says, I'm thinking about getting a whole house generator. I'm hearing from vendors that there are at least 14 to 18 week turnaround time, but it may be sooner if I opt in for a liquid cooled generator, but it costs more. Should I wait for a liquid cooled or should I go ahead and spring for the expensive one? Tom, what say you?
Well, liquid cool is fine. It's usually a bigger, heavier duty generator than a lot of people need. Some people would need them. I think, Charlie, you have a liquid cooled, don't you?
Yeah.
On your house?
Yeah, and the
I've got
advantage,
an air cooled on mine.
Yeah, the advantage to a liquid cooled is it runs at a lower RPM. That's really the only difference.
And they're usually a bigger output too.
Right.
So because they have to have a bigger motor. But as far as that goes, I don't know what the wait time is. I know if you're in Houston and you called KISS Generators, they have access to the Kohlers. Now maybe some parts of the country, maybe the people you're dealing with, they're just cranking them out. I don't know, but I would wait, I guess, if that's all you need. I wouldn't go and just buy something bigger because that's all you can have right now. Because I think the cost, unless it costs the same, would be fine. But the cost, I think, will go up.
Yeah, and he also asked, by the way, at the very end of the question, cut off there, because I had it set on automatic. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, he wanted to know, or should I just get a transfer switch and roll out my own generator? Don't do that. I'll just answer that one time. I'm going to go take a flyer on that and say, don't do that. Yeah, I mean, it's electric.
I mean, you can get your own generator like we do in the contracting business and put an extension cord in and plug a few things and have cords run all over your house like we do with our saws and our compressors and nail guns and things like that. But no, don't plug it into your electrical system and use a transfer switch.
All kidding aside about portable generators, it was the cause of how many deaths in Laura? People who brought those things in.
7.
Yeah,
I do believe it was 7.
Yeah, they weren't ventilated.
What kills me is 3 of them were construction workers who put it in their house because they used it on a job. They should know better.
And should have known better. It's exactly right. Yeah. So don't. If it's a difference between waiting and getting liquid cooled, that's one choice. But using your own generator, bad choice. Go ahead.
I think if you called around, you wouldn't have to wait. I think if you found the right company.
If you're willing to trade brands, maybe, yeah. Yeah, because there's some lesser brands that might have air-cooled. But I think, for my money, I'm happy I got a liquid-cooled generator. Just because it powers the whole house. So
Well, your house is 6,000 square feet.
Well,
My house is 2,400.
That doesn't
So
count the
I don't need
helipad.
a liquid cooled.
You left the helipad
Right?
and the indoor pool out of that number. So, all right. Next question comes from Jeff in Pearland. He says, my home is about 13 years old and nowhere big as Tom's or Charlie's. He says nothing is under warranty. He said, do you recommend a home warranty? I mean, is it worth the money, Tom?
First off, I would say no. It's like I have a 96 Bronco. It's like me trying to buy a car warranty on it. Cost me $500 a month because it's so old. No, the home warranties, as far as I'm concerned, are not something you should buy for your home. I am kind of thinking about this question as you've had this home for 13 years. Warranties on a brand new home usually are going to go 1 year for cosmetics, maybe 3 to 5 on some structural stuff if anything happens. And if you look back at your home, did you ever need one for 13 years? No, you didn't. So why start to bother with it now unless you're just being caught up with advertising that's kind of pounding you in the head about doing it. Maybe you keep getting that text and that phone call about your warranty on your car is about to wear out. Don't you need one? How about CenterPoint sending out warranties on underground gas lines that really make no sense to buy at all? So people are getting bombarded with all these extended warranties and things. And quite frankly, we live without them, and you're perfectly fine. And when something breaks, you're able to get second opinions. You're able to talk to other people before you make a choice on spending a lot of money. Or if it's a small repair, then it's just a little bit out of your pocket for that repair and not a monthly fee for 10 years every single month. The answer is no.
Don't do that.
I wasn't sure if I got to the answer. I had an answer at the end. No.
Well, I was confused because you sound so positive about them for most of your answer there. Okay. Now, if you have questions, Jack got his question. If you have one, remember we're here live and we're happy to help you out with those questions. And Tom will continue to answer them. We're going to bring in our guest right now, one of our Home Show pros. If you've not watched before, we'll bring in one of Tom's Home Show pros every week to answer questions on a specific topic. And today our guest from our Home Show pros, they're right there on our homepage. You scroll down and we click on Right Touch Electric. And that's the page you'll find there that's on our website. But better yet, we welcome William Burns. Good morning, William. Good afternoon. Good day, whatever. Good day.
Yeah, you'll catch on.
As they say in the radio business, good day part. So, it's good to have you with us. Well, now Will does Right Touch Electrical, is a company right here in Houston that Will and Gary started together, and they built this thing up. Now they're doing residential and commercial. When I met them, I think you had 2 trucks or something. It was the 2 of you, and how big have you grown now, Will?
Man, we've been blessed. We got about 15 employees. So yeah, you're right. When we met, we had just a couple trucks, just 2 electricians, and like I said, we're always appreciative of you guys and helping us out. And now we're just kicking along and doing really good. 15 guys and staying busy.
Well, and I tell you what, it's because Will does things the right way, and just a quality group of humans over there. And we're blessed to have you as one of our Home Show pros. Appreciate you being with us here today.
Yes, sir.
So we got a whole bunch of questions that came in, electrical questions. That's why I reached out to have you on the show. So let's get to one of those for you right now, Will. And remember, if you got an electrical question, put it in there. You got a general question, we'll answer those when we're done with Will before we sign off here at the bottom of the hour. So first question for you, Will, comes to us from Michael out in Katy. He says, I had an electrician come out and replace a bad breaker. He said the builder stacked too many ground arc fault breakers in a row, and I needed a sub panel installed to give the breakers more room so they wouldn't get too hot. Does that sound about right to you?
So here's the problem with arc fault breakers. They run very hot. They can get to about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Now the manufacturers, it's all UL listed. They say it's fine, that heat. They've been around for 20 years now. Here's what we're seeing now is 20 years ago, they were only required in a couple circuits, the bedrooms. Now they're required in almost the entire house. So now almost the entire panel is filled with arc fault breakers. So I think that's a wise decision to move it. We haven't seen problems yet, but these panels aren't very old. They're 5 or 10 years old. So really the test of time will come 20 years from now maybe 10, 20 years from now, we'll see if there's an effect from all this heat. So one thing what's interesting, Chad over at the Home Show studio, his in-laws, I went to go work on his in-laws' home, and the builder did a very smart thing. They spaced out every arc fault breaker, so there was a space so it could breathe and it wouldn't affect anything. So I thought that was a very wise thing for that builder to do.
Will, clear this up for me. When I was building, okay. I remember when they first came out, like you said, bedrooms only. Everybody was complaining about it. The homeowners would move in and they would be doing all kinds of weird things. Explain, please, for me and everybody else, the arc fault interrupter, is that right?
Yes.
And the GFCI, what exactly do they do? Because sometimes I think somebody just marketed this stuff and put it in the code and made us have it for no reason. And that's what we were thinking about 20 years ago when we started using them.
Yeah, when I first started, I started right when they came out. So the difference, arc fault is for fire protection and GFI is for water protection. According to studies, they've cut fires down by 50%. So they are very safe, but you're right, they can be a nuisance. So
what you're saying is if it's overheating and potentially starting a fire in the electrical device, that it will trip the breaker? Is that what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, so it actually registers appliances. If something's wrong with the appliance, it'll trip. It protects the neutral wire. So a regular breaker does not protect the neutral wire. It can register if the wiring is damaged. It can also, if there's an overvoltage, like in Houston, we have so many lightning strikes. So if there's a lightning strike in the area and that voltage goes above the 600 volts, or I don't have it in front of me, but something like 600 volts, it will trip. And that helps to save, appliance electronics. But they can be a nuisance. If you're having an arc fault breaker trip, it can sometimes be complicated to fix it.
Now, does it keep you from getting electrocuted if you stick something in there that could potentially hurt you?
Yes, it will trip very quickly. So an arc fault breaker, it's a split second and it's tripping.
So it's similar with GFCI in that sense.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now the other thing is, so as an electrician, we work with live wires all the time. So the neutral wire, if let's say a light is on and you're working with a neutral, that electricity is coming onto that neutral wire and it's gonna hurt. Now an arc fault breaker will trip immediately. It won't allow that voltage to carry through to you. So it is very safe, but it is complicated. One thing about what we do, we install an Eaton CH arc fault system. And what I love about that is it is a self-diagnosing system. So it tells us if there's a problem, it tells us, it kind of points us in the right direction of what the problem is so we can fix it fast or in as cheap as possible.
Too complicated. The world's too complicated, but I actually understand it now. The fire part was very convincing. Thank you.
All right. Next question for you comes from Mary, or Joe rather. Hang on a second, I got the wrong one up here. Hang on. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Joe in Richmond. We'll get to Mary in a minute. Joe in Richmond says, my panel has breakers that do not affect anything. It seems possible these lines were taken out of service and the breaker left in the panel. How would you trace, Will, to find out that line, what it fed, or maybe determine if it can be removed or repurposed?
So really, I just think he doesn't maybe know what's on that circuit. Some of these breakers may only have a couple plugs on it. What we would do is there's two ways to do it. He can do it himself, just turn each breaker, and if he has a plug-in tester, turn on every light, plug in. We would do something similar. We'd have a couple electricians out there, one at the electrical panel and one inside, and try to label his panel and determine whatever breaker does. An easy fix for him is if he thinks he has a breaker that's not connected to anything, just have him turn it off. And he goes about his day, he goes about his weeks and months, and if he doesn't notice anything's off, then it's probably not connected to anything, and he could then, of course, maybe repurpose it. That's an easy way, a cheap way to fix it, or to check it out.
Would it be possible that they just put a blank breaker in there for somebody who wanted to use it later and no wire to it at all?
I mean, that's a possibility. So he'd have to open the panel up. So unless he's trained to do that, I wouldn't recommend that. But that is true. I mean, that's a possibility.
Okay.
And if he opened that up and saw that, he'd have an extra breaker to use.
Yeah.
How often does something like that does that sound like a common practice, Will? I mean, somebody would do that?
I mean, not for new construction. If it's something like an aftermarket repair, like something that we would do, sometimes we may add a few breakers for the homeowner. But most new construction companies, they do the bare minimum. It's a maybe not a custom home builder like Tom, but like a tract home, then they usually just put in the breaker.
We would leave them more spaces, but we wouldn't put a breaker in there. We would just make sure the breaker box had some blanks.
Hey, I was trying to give you props.
Yes.
The only props Tom cares about are the ones on the plane that bring him home.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. By the way, speaking of breakers and panels and replacing and all, Will, in just a minute, I got one more question for you. Then we're going to play a video we did where you replaced a panel that was in danger of causing some problems in the house. And we'll talk more about that in a second. Let's get to our last question for you here. This one comes from Mary in Edgebrook. And she says, the lights in my half bath won't come on when I turn on the light switch. It's a double toggle, one for the light and the other for the fan. It says the fan works. I reset all of the GFCI outlets. Nothing is tripped at the panel. Instead, I installed new light bulbs. The lights are still not coming on. What could be the reason for this?
What I think is going on with her situation is probably the switch. That's a possibility. Changing the switch. We would check it out first to make sure it needed to be changed. Also, maybe the connection in the light fixture, that could be a possibility. Wiring usually lasts for a long time, so that should be fine. So those are pretty simple fixes, either change a switch or change a light fixture. So it should be pretty simple to fix it.
I was thinking the same thing. When you said switch, I'm thinking in my head, I'm Don going, I bet you it's a switch. I bet you it's a switch. Because it happens. And people keep doing this. Oh, come on.
That'll fix it. Just keep, just keep pushing on it. That'll work. I mean, yeah. I think that
if I do it really fast now, it'll come on. Come on. It's broken. I just had one. I had to replace it in this rental I have for my garbage disposal. I kept hitting it, and it wouldn't do anything. I said, no, it's a switch is bad. I just replaced it. It was fine. But yeah, people don't understand those things break.
Yeah, they go out pretty easily. We change all switches all the time. So you didn't stick your hand in the garbage disposal, did you?
No.
Good.
No.
Hold them both up for us, Tom.
Look.
He's still
But I'll tell you what, Will, and you can say yes or no to this. You can buy some pretty cheaply built switches, plugs, devices of any kind on the electrical side. They are really cranking them all over the world out, and there's some that are just garbage.
I mean, they're not, even the good ones aren't very expensive. So just spend a couple of dollars per switch. You can get them for 30 cents, 50 cents. Just get the good ones for a couple of dollars a piece.
Absolutely.
It's worth it. So.
Well, it's like plumbing fixtures Tom talks about. You go to the plumbing supply place and buy them. You're going to pay a little bit more, but you're going to get something that lasts a lot longer.
Exactly.
Yeah, they look the same. That doesn't mean they are the same.
Well, the sole exception to that rule, and I'm sure she's sitting there right now shaking her fist about this, is when we upgraded our kitchen, Will, we put in one of these intelligent faucets that you tap and the water comes on and all that. And the first clue this was a problem is it has a battery pack that runs that switch instead of electric. Yeah. Well, of course, they don't want to electric near the water, but still, that battery pack keeps failing. And it's like, I always know when it goes out because it has an alarm that goes off. And it sounds just like my wife going,
Okay. I can tell you, I put one in a house in my whole career, and they cussed it. After about 3 weeks, they were cussing that thing. And they bought another one, and my plumber went out and said, don't worry about it. We're going to get rid of it. It was the battery, too, Charlie. Yeah. They hated that battery. Crawling under there and even having to replace it was horrible.
I've taken my life in my own hands, Will. I've told my wife, go down to Ferguson and pick out what you want. So, all right. Well, Will,
you've been married for too long. I can't believe you did that.
Maybe not long enough. I don't know. Anyway, so Will, so what's anything going on new that you're working on these days that we need to know about?
Well, just, definitely we are here for all of Tom's listeners. If any emergency situations, summertime is almost over, but that heat, it does play a big toll on the electrical system. So if they notice any flickering lights, anything like that, give us a call. We're still, mainly residential, but we still have a growing commercial division too. Any business owners or any managers that need help, we're here. So we're really, just really moving forward. Services are, anything small, big, medium, anything at all, we'll come out and take a look at it. We're always happy to take a look at Tom's listeners.
And their electrical systems.
Electrical, yeah. Don't call us for anything else.
But they'll come by and just look at you if you want.
Will, real quick, I'm about to start an electrical training program down here in Brownsville because of what I do with the colleges. What is the employment look like for electricians across the country right now? I hear there's a big need. You can just hit it quickly, but do you see that too?
Yeah, it is tough. It's tough to find really good help. You definitely want to be very careful when you're, hiring an electrician. But for us, it takes a couple years to really train them on the residential side. That's 4 years to train them on commercial side. So definitely anybody that, wants to become an electrician, it's a great job. It's a great career. I actually just hired a young man from New Hampshire, just came down to Texas, hired him today. He's a 1-year apprentice, but he seems like a hard worker. And so yeah, it's a great opportunity for someone that wants to, have a great career.
So there's a lot of demand for it.
So process for that would be just to contact you or Gary over there at Right Touch and take it from there?
Yeah, we're always hiring. We actually, it's funny, this gentleman that came, we weren't really looking for somebody, but I interviewed him anyway, and then some things happened. It opened up, and we decided to bring him on. So it is a fast-moving industry, definitely. So it's a good.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today, Will. And I'll tell you what, if it goes for all the trades, but especially we talked to Alan at Abacus Plumbing a couple weeks ago. He said the same thing. And tradesmen like you, who you're a guy who works with one hand up and one hand down. I know that you started just like everybody else does in that business and built it up. And I know that it does your heart good to see people grow and move on, Will, and that shows in everything you do.
Yeah.
So, but before we bid you adieu, though, I want to talk a little bit about this video we're going to watch here. This is a video we did, and you probably remember this. This Federal Republic or something?
Pacific.
Federal Pacific, that's it. Mm-hmm. Breaker box.
Yes.
They now, how many of those are you still seeing out there? Do you run into them at all?
Not as much as we used to, but we still run into Federal Pacific. Another one's a Zensko.
I had one of those.
I'd say we run into one probably once a week or more, maybe a couple times a week, depending.
Right.
There's a couple new ones out there, Bryant and Challenger. Those are a couple newer ones that have crept into that more dangerous type older panel that could be a problem.
So you say in the video that if your panel's 20 years old, you should get it looked at.
Yes, that's a good time to start thinking about just evaluating it.
Well, we have a whole list. You're going to see it in the video here in just a second of all the brands specifically that if you have one of these behind the house, take your phone with you and call Will because it'd be a good time to have a look at it. So, Will, thanks a lot for being with us here today.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Will.
you, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
You too.
Bye-bye.
The issue with electricity, a lot of times it will last for a very long time. And when it fails, you don't know when it's going to happen.
Underneath this rust lies a false sense of security.
The house was built in 1975, so it was original.
These old breakers are not safe. They never were. I'll explain why in a moment.
And I really had to lean into it to try to get it to reset.
The exact opposite of how resetting a breaker should be.
When a breaker doesn't trip, what can happen is arcing can take place or too much heat can run through the wires, both of which can be very dangerous and even create a fire hazard.
When Chuck went online to look for a replacement breaker, he found disturbing information.
Bad panels, lawsuits. could set your house on fire.
We don't work on this particular brand of panel, the Federal Pacific, because how dangerous they are.
It's not just Federal Pacific. These are the names of electrical panels you should not have on your home.
Only way to make a panel like this safe is to replace it.
I was glad I hadn't burned the house down.
Ignoring an old electric panel is never a good idea.
Get somebody who knows what they're doing and have them check it out.
Even if your panel is not on the list of those that are unsafe.
We recommend at 20 years of age that you have your panel checked out by a professional.
Is your panel unsafe? Have it checked by a licensed electrician like the ones at Right Touch Electrical, the certified home show pros I trust when it comes to electricity. For HomeShowRadio.com, I'm Tom Tynan.
Now, we have a lot more videos just like that one at HomeShowRadio.com. If you're looking for some help with projects around the house, you'll probably find some answers in those videos. And a lot of our Ask Tom videos are up there. We post a new one of those every day at Facebook and YouTube, our YouTube channel, and of course at HomeShowRadio.com.
Yeah, go ahead and invite everybody. Make sure you listen on the weekends if you're heading around Houston, or of course Charlie will tell you about the podcast, your Spotify's, and all the other stuff.
We actually have podcasts too. We hang out with the prairie dogs, podcasts
Nice.
and prairie dogs.
Okay, and I'm on 9 to 12 on Saturday and 8 to 11 on Sunday on Sports Radio 610. It's called Home Show Radio. I've been doing it for going to be 34 years next month. I start my 34th year in October.
Now remember, if it's not too late for you to get us a question, and we're wrapping up the show today, but if you want to get us one, you can go to, where's the button here? I want to show you. I got a little fancy animation. Here we go. You go to HomeShowRadio.com and click on that Ask Tom button right there. It'll take you to this page right here, and you can either use the form and send us a question in your picture, or now we've made it possible. You see, you fill this form out just like everything else, and you can attach a picture there, by the way, as you can see on the form. Or you can go over and click on the record a video, and we'll ask you a couple questions, and then you hit a button, and the camera will come on. It works great on your mobile device. So if you want to go out to the whatever the problem is you want to share with us at your house, go around there and show it off, and we'll be happy to have your video. Please, Zach put a lot of work into that. Stayed up late, worked weekends. And he's like, have we gone to video yet? So, please.
Nice.
I'm like, I can't do it myself because he'll know it's me. So that's the deal. All right, Tom, I guess we'll see you on the radio this weekend. And
Yes, you will.
And we thank all y'all for being with us. And we'll see you next week for Ask Tom Live at 4 o'clock Central here on Facebook.
Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio. Home Show Radio. Free advice from a pro.